Right, here's my first batch of black pines, and plus we've got the rogue stone pine here. Couple of interesting points. I can probably best, I'm not sure if you'll see completely on this video because of the focus, but some of them, like this one here, have a brown trunk, and then the one next to it has a green trunk, and that happens throughout. I'm not sure what that means. If anybody knows, please tell me. I thought it might be a fungus issue, but they all seem to be growing relatively happily. And then also, and I won't take the camera closer because it struggles to focus, right at the back corner here, you can see there's no needles on this one. Now this has never had needles since it sprouted, and yet it continues to grow. So I'm aware that, you know, this is the run to the litter and I should be pulling this one out, but you know, this is just for fun, so I'm going to see what happens with it. And this is the second batch of black pines, Japanese black pines, that I've got. 10 or so thrown into this little pond basket. What is interesting for me is, so far, of every single one that sprouted, I've only lost one that just flopped. Now I'm not sure if I'll be able to focus on here, but you can see the one next to my pointer, that it's not going to focus. There's not a lot of needle growth on that one, which doesn't look promising, but the rest are all doing really well. Probably not as well as the ones in the separate cells, but I think that's possibly due to the size of the pond basket, so this gets dry a hell of a lot quicker. Okay, stone pines, all growing really well. That one there in the background, that's the strongest growing of the bunch. That was also the first one to appear. You can see it's getting a second burst of growth, but to be fair, you know, they're all doing really well. I used vermiculite on the outer edges as I'd run out at the time of the mix I was using, and I think the failure to sprout on this side must have been due to the cheap heat mat, because on this side they sprouted in every cell. So they're growing really well. I do have a little USB fan on the below tier, which I'm running constantly, so they should be growing nice and strong. Right, Scotch laburnums, you can see we're getting some fantastic growth in these. Sorry, let me use my pointer. Getting some fantastic growth in these. Fairly moderate success rate in the seeds that had begun to sprout when I pulled them out of the fridge. We've got a couple which, you know, that one looks to be clinging on, though it does look like it's just starting a second wave of growth. But the one I really want to look at, I think, is quite interesting. Where is it? It's here. So if I can zoom in and capture this, if it focuses, you can see there, it looks as though, well, I'm not sure, either two seeds merged together, because some of these pots do have two seeds dropped in, or it's just an anomaly. But if I look at a standard trunk, and this is from a really tall growing Scotch laburnum, to this one, you can see it's probably 2.5 times the thickness, and it's got this dual growth either side. Both sides are growing. Admittedly, the side on the left is growing much stronger, but you know, from a future bonsai perspective, if I can keep this one alive, it just already looks vastly different to every other seedling that's cropping up. So that's my aim, to keep this alive. But on the whole, as I just crush it with my thumb, on the whole, they're doing reasonably well. So yeah, long may that continue. And then these are the real big announcement, the Chinese red pines. These were put into this pot 2.5 weeks ago, I think, 3 weeks ago. Have started to sprout, and boy have they started to sprout. They are the tallest ones, they're all approximately 2.5, 3 inches in height, and you can see just by me scanning along in this fashion, we've got quite a few coming through. What we've also got, if you can see, we've got another one cropping up there, another one there. So we've got another one just starting to poke its head just there. So feeling quite excited by these. Now, I made the mistake of trying to pull the shells off a couple of these, and what that's resulted in is I snapped the needles off 2 of them, that one there and this one here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those, whether it stunts the growth in any way or what. But on the whole, they're doing really well. They've came through the stratification process in the fridge successfully, which brings me on to those 2 below. So on the left we've got Japanese Zelkovas, on the right we've got black Tepellos, and as you can see I've put the heat mat under these. So far we haven't got any signs of life, but you know, from the reading that I've done, these could take some time. So yeah, there's nothing in there either. I'm hopeful, but that is what it is, hope. I've followed the instructions. Now it's just a case of hoping nature, or whatever you call this, because it's not quite nature, is it? Hopefully that will do its thing. And the last video, so these grow bonsai kits, there's 4 of these pots, and this is the only one that has shown any sign of life. I have no idea what that is. It's extremely small in comparison to the other seedlings that I've grown so far. If you've got any ideas, please do let me know. But I think that's about as far as I can get without it losing the focus completely there. So of the 4 pots, that's the only one that anything green has materialized from. So not a success, and I can understand now why those kits get such a bad rep. Mine was bought for me as a birthday present, you know, which I'm grateful for, but I can imagine someone wanting to get into the hobby feeling quite disheartened, because you know, the process wasn't an easy one for these pots, all things considered. You know, much more difficult than the Chinese red pines, for example, and much more difficult than the Japanese black pines, where I, You know, didn't do any sort of stratification. I just put them in a perlite and cocoa coir mix and let the room temp. I didn't even use a heat mat. So yeah, these a bit of a anticlimax, but you know, we've got one little sign of life, so I'll keep this hopefully alive, and we'll see what unfolds.